My lords, today I must report on several calamities undergoing the Empire. It's unclear whether or not the two events are related. I suspect not, but even in space, it would appear that misery does indeed love company. The first ongoing issue concerns protests, which have begun to spring up across New Roma in the Giulio system. Large and often vibrantly colourful assemblies have gathered in support of various, appearingly frivolous issues, from the right to hold public dances inside financial institutions, to which colours should be painted on our defensive platforms. The protests are not violent, but they are noisy, and several of the civic services on New Roma have been placed under strain by the disruption. The same cannot be said for the general public, however, who rather than being inconvenienced seem to enjoy the quirky demonstrations. We are starting to investigate, and we hope to get to the bottom of this quickly. At more or less the same time, strange occurrences have been reported among the colonists on the planet of New Sicily, again in the Giulio system. Apparently, many individuals have taken to dancing on the streets for hours or even days on end, refusing to stop until they are physically restrained. So far, it has only affected a relatively small portion of the population, and our authorities have yet to establish a pattern. We have no idea if the events on these two separate planets are linked. They are indeed in the same system, but other than that, no common cause has been identified. Several weeks have now passed, and while the events on New Roma appear to be calming down, indeed the protests have almost ceased as suddenly as they began, the situation with the dancing plague on New Sicily has escalated somewhat. Rumours are pointing to a group called the Manifesti being responsible. This enigmatic collective is apparently responsible for a number of provocative art projects in recent years. Their subject matter every bit as disingenuous as the issues that we were seeing protested on New Roma. We wonder whether they have expanded beyond the planet and are responsible for this dancing plague on New Sicily. Indeed, now we have several groups of hundreds of people compulsively dancing in a variety of different styles. Surprisingly, even those who have never shown such interest in dancing are suddenly able to perform expert moves, and the old among them have rediscovered the vigour of youth. Although many residents are jokingly referring to this as the dancing plague, it is no joking matter. The dancers are showing no concern for their bodily needs, and they risk dancing themselves to death. Whatever is happening to these people is clearly not natural. Whether the Manifesti are responsible is irrelevant. We must find a way to prevent whatever is causing this dancing plague from infecting more of the population. Several more weeks have passed, and we still have no cure for the dancing plague. Meanwhile, a subversive dialect has taken root within our art centres and educational institutions across New Roma. We believe that its origins lie in another planned project by the Manifesti. Linguists are noting that in this so-called "you slurp speak," all words relating to our economy have been replaced with expressive grunts. More worryingly, its many and colourful insults all seem to derive from the names of prominent military figures. This has drawn formal complaints from the individuals' families. All of this screams of some sort of cultural and political plot to usurp power and undermine confidence in the Commonwealth's leadership. It must be dealt with. The Manifesti have unveiled their most public exhibition to date. A new and extremely popular interactive experience on New Roma invites visitors to manipulate reflections and images of themselves, and to create distorted collages of political figures, some from other galactic empires. Critics herald these pieces as casting a necessary and harsh light upon our sense of self. The exhibition has also inspired a number of satirical works on both domestic issues and on pan-species relations. Debate amongst our social researchers is lively, and more conservative voices urge caution. Several more weeks have passed, and rumours are abound that a new political faction may be formed, inspired by this so-called Manifestiism. Its proponents speak of contradictory and bizarre causes, such as free movement of rivers and greater personal autonomy for munitions. We remain frustratingly uninformed about these issues. We suspect that it may be some sort of youth plot or meme simply attempting to disrupt and harass our political leadership. Our internal events continue to be disrupted by the Manifesti. A swift crackdown on their leadership will come, as soon as we find out who they are. Reports from New Sicily are equally poor. The dancing plague has taken a turn for the worse. At first, our medics took to using heavy sedatives to stop the dancers from dancing themselves to death. However, as they themselves became increasingly affected by the symptoms, the remaining medics were unable to cope, and scores of people have now collapsed from exhaustion. With more of the colonists affected day by day, this has gone far beyond the harmless joke we had thought it to be. We must take immediate action to rid ourselves of this plague, once and for all. Another month has passed, and I'm pleased to report that our researchers have finally succeeded in isolating the cause of the dancing incidents on New Sicily. It appears that the culprit is a gas released by the local vegetation. This gas induces feelings of exhilaration and an irresistible urge to dance, all the while suppressing fatigue. It does, however, appear to be fairly benign, as the colonists' self-preservation instincts prevent them from literally dancing themselves to death. As we have been living on this planet for several decades, it's unclear whether the vegetation was cultivated specifically by this Manifesti group, or perhaps these events are simple coincidence. Furthermore, our scientists have developed a synthetic gas that, once released into the air, will neutralize the effects of the dancing gas. Local entrepreneurs are suggesting that we preserve the unique character of the colony by allowing the gas to reign free in certain areas, providing a safe space for young and old alike to experience the eternal party of New Sicily. Others point out that the gas has certain valuable properties that we may be able to make use of if we can extract it from the plants before it's released into the air. Interestingly, since we solved the dancing plague problem, the buzz surrounding the Manifesti faction has quietened, fading as quickly as the arrival of the protests which started it. Some activists we apprehended claim their motivations range from pure satire to conscientious objection. Attendances at galleries and museums have never been higher, but the public gaze has already moved to a newer, controversial group of artists. Our sociologists continue to sift through the data they gathered during this strange moment in humanity's cultural history. Life goes on, apparently. We still wonder, were these two events related? Who knows? The only question remaining is what to do with the influx of exotic gases on New Sicily. Should we create these zoned areas to allow for planet-wide parties, or should we funnel them into something more specific? Perhaps they could be used in new shield arrays. I'd be interested to hear your opinions, my lords. Thanks for watching, folks. What do you think we should do with the gases? And if you want to hear more from me, please click the video on screen now.